You're good to go, Sean.
All right. So I will call this meeting to order. I'm going to do a few housekeeping items first. I might have a question for our MIS staff, but everyone just make sure that your cell phones are set to silent if they aren't already. We are recording this meeting for the public. Is that correct, Ms. Scott? Okay. So just want everyone to be aware of that. And I'll introduce people before they talk to make sure that the public knows when they're rewatching this later who's speaking, so it's clear. All meeting materials for this committee meeting today are on our iPads, of course, but they are also on the website for the committee. So folks can, if anyone is watching this video and wants to see the meeting materials that we're going over, they can go to the Rules and Regulations Committee. I think Carrie might need to. I think.
We're just trying to fix up board. Okay.
Yeah, we're getting some feedback here, so.
Carrie, can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Can you hear us, Carrie?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so we'll get the technological issue sorted out here, but I just want to go through the procedure here for how we'll conduct this meeting today. So first, let's listen to the staff presentations, and then we'll have questions and comments from committee members. Then we'll entertain motions. And procedurally, just make sure that you have the floor from me before speaking up. I'll look for raised hands, or Carrie, in your case, if I'm not looking behind me, just say something so I know that you want to talk. And then once you have the floor, if you're a committee member, you don't need permission from me to keep making comments or asking questions. Just go ahead. You got the floor. You can ask questions of staff or other committee members if you need to. I would just ask that you don't start recognizing other people. So we don't have a big group in here, but if other people join the meeting and they want to be recognized, just make sure that they're getting recognized through me. And then when you're done, hand the floor back to me. And so the reason for all these formalities, I'm getting this all out of the way early on, is that we have a lot of important issues to discuss in the Rules Committee over the next several months. And I think there will be many people who, there's a potential at least that many people are going to want to talk about some of these issues that we're handling that are bigger structural issues. So that's why I'm kind of laying out the groundwork for how we're going to do discussions. And then if you think of items that you want added to future agendas, then please let me know individually, and then I'll try to get that on the agenda for next month. And next month also, I forgot to request this for this meeting, but we will have an agenda item that says future agenda item ideas from committee members. So I just want to let committee members know how I would process ideas from you to get things on future agendas. Okay, so, I'd also like to thank Administrator Langrek and Ms. Scott for preparing and posting the meeting materials ahead of time. I know it takes a lot of work, and they are working through a lot of special requests I have made to put things out on the website. So,
Mr. Chairman, may I respectfully suggest you call roll at some point to establish formally this quorum present?
Sure, I'm happy to do that. So,
I would recommend that.
So Clerk Vlasic, can you call roll, please, for the committee? Here.
Here.
And so then Mr. Severson is on WebEx, so he is also here. So
Can you guys hear me?
yes, we can hear you. Great. If you could just say that you're present, that would be great.
Carrie Severson is present.
There you go, Clerk Vlasic. Okay, agenda item number 2, proof of notification. Clerk Vlasic, was the agenda properly notified? All right. Agenda item number 3, agenda approval. I'd entertain a motion to approve this agenda. Okay, moved by Supervisor Cosgrove, seconded by Supervisor Luck. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. We have an agenda. Agenda item number 4, June 4th minutes approval. Those minutes were posted on the web and Clerk Vlasic sent those out, so I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes. A move by Supervisor Luck.
Carrie Severson seconds.
All right, second by Supervisor Seep. All those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion carries. The minutes are approved. Agenda item number 5, establishment policy. Policy defining the development of policy. So Administrator Langrek, can you please give us a presentation on this agenda item?
This is an item that is found online and in the folder. This is a coming back to you item, something that we discussed last meeting. A policy on policy. It is meant as a blueprint and a format for future Richland County policy development. It's intended to promote consistency and help define the roles of policy maintenance and revisions. Flipping into the 5-page document, the first page includes the policy cover. It has a chunk on the top identifying the title, custodian, effective date, adoption or revision date, approving body, and authority body. Goes into the other different policy cover items and authorities and references, purposes, scope, and policy overviews. Then goes into the next section of policy content. In the policy content, we're kind of defining the different elements of the policy, defining what a title is, what the effective date, the approving body, the authority body, etc. And we have the policy process. And the last 2 sections of the policy on policy, if you will, is the revision history, where we're capturing changes to the revision, changes and revisions to the policy, as well as then finally the policy attachments at the back. So it's kind of meant as, again, a blueprint of establishing a means and a method and a format for Richland County policy and moving forward. And it defines kind of policy as is a governing body, or the supervisory committees and boards and commissions putting into place the who, the what's, and the whys for us as employees and staff to work on.
And Administrator Langrek, have there been any changes made to this since you presented it at our last meeting?
Minimal changes in any types of content. We did some typos, and we added in on the top authority body. This, again, the idea of this document would be that it would be approved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors, and then the authority established by this committee to change the different aspects of what establishment policy should look like.
And where was it that you added authority body? I didn't see what page you were on.
That is on page 1 of 5, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
It's up in the policy cover at the very top in the block underneath approving body. You'll see authority body added, and then definition of it is followed on page 2 of 5.
Okay, I see now. All right, so committee members, does anyone have any questions or comments? All right, so with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the Richland County Establishment Policy and recommend to the Richland County Board of Supervisors for action by resolution at their July meeting. Okay, moved by Supervisor Cosgrove. Seconded by Supervisor Luck. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. So agenda item number 6, establishment procedure, policy defining the the development of procedure.
Just as exciting as the last document, this is establishment procedure. It's conceptualized as establishing a set of blueprints or format for Richland County procedure development, intended to promote consistency and again help defining the rules and procedure for maintenance and revisions. Kind of the main things that were added from the last time that you saw this is, again, authority body is put in here, because again, now this is the policy on procedure, and how we're trying to define it is we're saying policy is going to be coming from a body. It's saying who and what they're doing and why they're doing it, and then procedure is going to fill in the how it's done and the when it's done. This is something that's going to be controlled by administration in conjunction with subject matter experts to kind of fill in the mechanics of what the intent of the county board and supervisory committees are. So major changes again are on page 104 with the rules and resolutions. Then the with the authority body being rules and resolutions to be able to amend this document. And then that authority was defined on page 204. Another aspect that, again, I think it's important to iterate here is on page 104 at the bottom of policy overview, that a procedure is not intended to replace management decision authority or discretion, but to promote consistent practices in implementing policy.
Anything else?
That is it, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so any questions or comments from committee members? All right, hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to, what does it say? Approve the Richland County establishment procedure and recommend to the County Board of Supervisors for action at their action by resolution at their July meeting. Okay, okay, moved by Supervisor Seep and seconded by Supervisor Luck. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Sending these documents out for prior to the meeting.
All right, any opposed to the motion? All right, that motion is approved. Agenda item number 7, authority of management, roles of members of committees, boards and commissions, and roles of chairs. And this is a policy discussion. So Administrator Langrecht.
This is kind of a follow-up to a concept document we had talked about last meeting. It's brought back to you in a policy form to review and discuss today with individual feedback. Welcome. My intentions are to kind of lay this out, get your feedback, take it out through departments, get their feedback as well, and also to have them have a chance to kind of talk with their committee, commissions, and boards to see if it's feasible as this transition time. I'm certainly understanding and appreciating more and more how much of the administrative type of mechanics and the lifting has been done by elected supervisors and supervisory roles and city council roles and members of ours. So, but it's brought to you today to kind of review and have a first kick at the actual policy layout. So turning to page 1 of 6, you're seeing it established in the establishment policy technical format. The purpose is to establish a common vision and define functions regarding the separation of authorities of management and the roles of individual members of our Richland County committees, boards, and commissions. And the second purpose is to establish the roles and duties of the chair of committee, boards, and commissions. The scope is this would be all-inclusive with the exception of authorities and roles that adhere to state and federal regulations, of course, are exempt from the policy. Policy overview. Richland County introduced a county administrator in the spring of 2020. Expectations with arrival of administrator include the delegation of tasks considered administrative in nature. This policy is intended to establish and define the authorities of Richland County management and the roles of individual members of our Richland County supervisory bodies for future policy and procedure development, implementation, and revisions. This policy is intended to define the roles and duties of the chairs of committees, boards, and commissions. This policy is administrative in nature, establishes powers, responsibilities, and/or rules for the county employees and supervisors. We get then into the policy performance. We're looking for this to impact everybody, with the exception of the ones that get defined by state and federal. It also has in here an important reference to section 11, which we'll cover, will be the final kind of carve out on how it's intended to be visionary, and it's not going to hopefully put us in immediate conflict with all of our current policies in place. So the first vision is laid out for you, the management authorities. We say Richland County reserves all rights of management regarding county operations under federal and state regulations. We then say Richland County Administrator, Richland County Department heads, or designees are tasked with fiscal and ethical management of county personnel, resources, and operations. Then we have the authorities and responsibilities of management, but are not limited to, and are laid out for you. Change on here from what you would have seen last month is item number 2, ensure compliance with all regulations and laws impacting operations. I'll give you a minute to go through that and relieve you for just a minute from my nasally muffled voice. Apologies to the viewers at home that might not have the document.
Actually, isn't that document
Do you have it on there?
available?
The viewers at home, you can find this off of the Rules and Resolutions Board website, where the meetings, where the agenda and the minutes are, and it's hyperlinked. Barbara's going to drop it into the chat.
Yep, and if you are following along, so we are on agenda item number 7, authority. It starts with the words authority of management. On the website, it starts with the words management authorities. So that's the document you should be looking at here.
Continuing into roles of individual members on committees, boards, and commissions. Laid out there of what is expected of our individual members. A lot of this language is taken from the Wisconsin Counties Association handbook. I don't think we have any changes on here from what we would have talked about last meeting. Going forward, roles of the chairs and committees, boards, and commissions. Now, this is an addition. This is intended to kind of include all chairs, committees, boards, and commissions. The following duties and responsibilities are placed on the presiding member of the governing body. Approve placement of items on the body's meeting agenda, confirm the proper posting of meeting agenda was fulfilled prior to conducting business, announce at the conclusion of the roll call the fact that a presence of a quorum or not, as the case may be, put to vote the questions which are regularly moved or which necessarily arise in the course of proceedings, and to announce the result, restrain the members while engaged in debate within the rules of order, preserve order and decorum, decide all questions or order, and shall inform the board when necessary on any point of order or practice. He may speak to points of order in preference to others and seek the advice of the corporation counsel, administrator, department head, subject matter expert, etc. on such points of order or practice. He shall decide questions of order subject to an appeal by any member. Number 7, clear the meeting floor when adjourning or moving into closed session. Number 8, use discretion in the order of addressing agenda items. Number 9, limit time on the floor to speakers unless overruled by a majority vote of the body present. Number 10, appoint, ensure that minutes are recorded. Number 11, use discretion in seating configuration for meetings. Number 12, authorize departments under the body's supervision to take emergency action on actions and proposed contract, expenditure, or program initiatives as seen in Rule 14E, page 6 of our county board rules. Succession of presiding official is laid out as vice chair, secretary, longevity of service in the committee, board, commission, and alphabetical by last name. Then we have a few defined roles for the county board chair, which are laid out in an iteration of our county board rules. Rule number 2, the chair may alter the seating arrangements of the county board meeting. 3, shall assign proposed resolutions and ordinances to the appropriate committee when in doubt. Underneath Rule 3, provide determination of need for teleconferencing meetings. Number 11, then, this is the final one, which kind of makes this a visionary policy and not an immediate type of action type of policy, is all current rules, ordinances, policies, and procedures that contradict this policy remain in effect and take precedence over this policy until such a time where the conflicting policies are amended to reflect the vision and directives set forth in this policy. Again, I kind of see this as kind of the cornerstone, if appropriate, to kind of begin forming and shaping and amending existing policies to meet and define those two roles.
All right, so questions or comments from committee members for the administrator on this one? Supervisor Seat.
Yes, Chairman, I think the policy that you're outlining is pretty consistent with conduct of policy in your chair of the parent. That's not correct.
I believe so. I know that one change that is going to take some working out is still setting the agenda items. That's going to be some behavioral changes on perhaps on employees as well. Making sure that those things are happening and coming up with a timing and a sequence that we can do it and it's effective and we're not missing things that want to be brought to the table. There are going to be some types of different behavior changes that are going to come up.
But the committee meeting and certainly the committee chair oversight of the agenda.
At the same time, having the agenda still approved is appropriate as well. That seem consistent, Council?
Yes.
I'm sorry, it should be for me to call.
Oh, I should, yes, Mr. Chair.
Yep, go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, the one thing we always have to keep in mind, of course, is the open meeting law. And that involves both discussion and action. It covers that, and there can be no discussion of anything at a public meeting which is not on the agenda. And I know you mentioned, mention was made earlier of a proposal to have an agenda item that said any other items that the members of the committee want to raise. That can be done, but it's highly limited. That is to say that if you have that on the agenda, there could call for comments by committee members, but there could not be any discussion of anything that's not on the agenda. And I've said this for all my years as Supervision Council. It's very, very important for supervisors to keep companies online. Violations of it. Admittedly, it wouldn't happen very often, but it would happen, especially if you take some action somebody doesn't like. Violations of the open meeting law can result in significant personal fine to supervisors, and the county is not allowed to reimburse the supervisor for any of those fines. So I've been talking for years, and I think we need to allow that support. Thank you.
You still got the floor, Mr. Seat.
But yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think in glad as you mentioned the Appropriations Council comment. It's not very much of a contribution, but the one concern is a conversation prior to the convening of the meeting or after the meeting is adjourned. On occasion, there is the possibility that conversation occurs regarding government business or regarding an agenda item, and it is even proposing a new agenda item after meeting is closed, is absolutely a questionable behavior and probably a violation. Is that right?
Yes, it is a violation. The open meeting.
That was not
Thank
the
you.
agenda, was it?
Yes, keep going.
Yes.
Yes.
The open meeting law covered any planned meeting of a majority of members of a committee. And so, the supervisor is entirely correct. It doesn't matter whether the matter is being discussed before the convening of the meeting, during the convening of the meeting, or after the convening of the meeting. It's all covered by the open meeting law because it's a planned session. If that's a question.
Let's talk about baseball and sports before the meeting starts. And maybe there wasn't.
Are you finished, Mr. Seat? Okay. Any other committee members have any questions or comments? And just want, and I should recognize too that we've got Chair Brewer here too. So if there's anything you want to speak up about, just raise your hand. And yeah, quick, Glasser.
I have a concern about this. We have a chair of a committee. The agenda for finance is not. Approval is going to have to happen.
So what is the requirements for the posting of the agenda? How much?
24 hours. I don't have the agenda.
Yes, and I'll discuss that with you after the meeting.
Yeah.
Yep, go ahead. Yep.
With regard to this question, is it possible that you could have a policy or a procedure whereby the chair of a committee or a board would contact the clerk so many days in advance for the staff person of the proposed meeting for suggestions, the agenda which he may have received from other members, or I think you got to be careful there. Maybe by the receiving suggestions for the agenda to other members, maybe running into would they be running into a quorum problem?
May I respond to that?
Mhm.
I don't see any problem, right, talking to the clerk or the chair of the committee that the open meeting law gets involved on this meeting of a majority and
Yes.
members of a majority of committee discuss something by email. That's a violation of your. But here, conversations are communicating, say to the clerk, I supervisor, or I supervisor to the chair of a committee, that alone does not involve you.
Very good.
Okay, so I've got a couple of suggestions, and I think Administrator, for maybe how to handle some of these comments that we've heard. I think under number 9, the roles of the chairs of committees. I think under that one, it might be appropriate to put in some language under 9AI, where it says approve placement of items of the body's meeting agenda. Something about the appropriate timeline and who to work with to make sure that the agenda gets posted. So like in this example, I'll use it since the clerk brought it up. Part of this is my mistake because I forgot that tomorrow was a holiday because I was thinking of July 4th being on Saturday and I didn't realize that this was a county holiday on Friday, July 3rd. So I think adding something about the expectation there of the chair and making sure that they're communicating with the person who is posting the agenda. Now, in some cases, am I right, Clerk Vlasic, that you don't post agendas for all committees, boards, and commissions, but only certain ones? Okay, so it would have to be that the committee chair would work with whoever is responsible for posting the agenda. So that's my suggestion under that one. And then my other suggestion would be under 8, roles of individual members of committees, boards, and commissions. So something about corporation councils, open meetings, comments, the responsibilities that we have as individual members to make sure that we are not discussing items which haven't been properly posted, that might result in a quorum or a walking quorum discussing items. So something along those lines. Perhaps you could work with corporation counsel to come up with the correct language under 8 for that one. All right, any other comments or questions from committee members?
I think it's important to keep in mind, remember that this is a county board meeting or a county board committee meeting, not a department meeting per se. There's a distinct difference. It's a county meeting, and so therefore it's under the direction of the county members assigned to that committee.
And that reminds me, Administrator Langrecht, there might be something appropriate to add into under 9, the roles of the chairs of committees, boards, or commissions. And the way it's worded right now under 9AI is that the chairs would approve placements of items of the body's meeting agenda, but it's also, I think it's been the standard practice that oftentimes department heads in the past have put agenda items on they've placed items on agendas. So it's going to take a lot of partnership with the either department head or multiple department heads. Like I would say finance and personnel committee, that's a good example of an agenda. I'm sorry, a committee that has to work with multiple department heads and elected officials at the county. So whoever the chair is going to have to be pretty adept at working with the administrator and the department heads that are appropriate to get that agenda approved. So it obviously, a chair isn't going to be working on their own setting the agenda. They would have the knowledge or the ability to come up with all those items. But when it comes down to it, I think what this is saying that the chair would give the final approval of placement of items in case there were a question of authority or who has the authority to do it. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. C.
Yeah, just and the administrator, who by virtue of the job description has authority over the oversight of the staff person or department head. That development of an agenda would be consultation by the chair with them and the department.
Yep, go ahead,
Can I
Administrator.
just interject? It seems like this rule is causing more problems than it's solving. I don't know if we can say something to the point of approval of placement on items of a body's meeting agenda once it's been posted occurred, or we just strike the whole thing. We can see if such a need arises in the future again to readjust it, or readdress it at that point. But yeah, a lot of different ways to wordsmith it.
I guess I just a second. So I guess my response to, did you have anything else, Mr. C? Okay. So my response to that idea is, I think it's helpful to have it on there because we've had a lot of confusion in the past about how agenda items get placed on agendas. I've read the Wisconsin Counties Association handbook, and I know that you pulled the language from there because I've read this language in there before. So I don't think it's, I would not want this particular item to be pulled from it, but I think it needs to be clarified because this is kind of a new thing at Richland County, that we are clarifying this role to go along with what the Wisconsin Counties Association recommends. I think we just need to put some boundaries on it so it's real clear, that it's got to be done in a way that respects other people's times, like the clerk's time, and that it's also got to be done in a way that follows the hierarchy that we have set up at the county. So a chair of a committee or a commissioner or board might not necessarily work directly with the department head without the without also working with the administrator, depending on what our hierarchy is and how we have it set up. So I think that was all that Mr. Seep was trying to say, is that we've got to somehow, and that's the next agenda item, and so we'll talk about that also, but we've got to make sure that we're doing the partnerships and we're respecting the chain of command and figuring out what the chain of command is here at the county in relation to how the agendas get set. Okay, yes, Corporation Counsel.
Let me say something that probably is obvious, but there's no harm done for an item, to have an item on the agenda which ends up not being taken up by the committee. Problem comes with the committee taking up something that's not on the agenda. That's where you get a violation of the open meeting law.
All right, so any other comments or questions from committee members? Yep, Supervisor Seep.
Almost have corporation counsel present. With regard to agenda items, there is a statutory requirement that they be very specific so that the public, anyone in the public can have a reasonable understanding of that item. Could you elaborate on that?
I believe so. I believe that's under, I just want to make sure that we're staying on the agenda. So we're on the authority of management, roles of members of committees, and then I believe underneath the roles of, I believe it is because we're underneath the roles of the chairs of committees, boards, or commissions. So that's in the document that the administrator sent to us, and we're talking about how to approve placement of items of the body's meeting agenda and making sure that our roles are clear. So yes, go ahead. I think that fits.
And your question again, I'm sorry, Mr. Chief.
Regarding the
I'll respond to it now.
regarding the requirement for specificity in writing an agenda item.
Yeah, and the statute is that the agenda item has to reasonably apprise members of the public of what discussion and action taken by the board, by the and so term you stated that accurately, but maybe we're going to inform the public about what will be covered. So if you had something that was extremely broad and you were going to discuss a lot of particular items, I know that's not going to work. You need to have a pretty good breakdown of what you're going to discuss in order to satisfy.
Other business doesn't cut them off.
That's correct. Nor does such matters as may be brought up by members of
Sure. Okay. So I don't believe that you are requesting any action from the committee today. This was just a discussion item, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, oh yeah, go ahead, Supervisor Left.
So, does anyone know, like in Iacon or other counties where the county administrator, how agenda items are set? Like, are they set through the county administrator or are they? I'm just curious how, like, does it, they work with the committee chair and the county administrator and the department head? Or does it come through the chair?
I don't know the answer to that question. Do you know the answer to that question?
I can't speak on behalf of the state in its entirety or even Iowa. I know my experience is that county, Clark County was the chair of posting of the
Chair of the committee.
board.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yep, Supervisor Seep.
Perhaps we could think about something along the lines of an organizational chart for the flow of information regarding agenda, information agenda.
Yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next agenda item because I think that's actually more related to agenda item number 8. So we'll look forward to this agenda item number 7 coming back to the Rules Committee in August. Do you anticipate after you're able to chat with department heads about this? And
That's the intent, is to put it out to departments, allow departments to
Okay, so if there are any chairs of committees, boards, or commissions in this room right now, I know there's at least a few of them. Make sure you're working with your department head or whoever sets the agenda for your committees to make sure you guys are talking about this this coming month, so that we can get feedback. And then feedback should go to, how should the feedback be routed?
I'm hoping to get my feedback
Through department heads. Okay, so at your committee meetings, you can talk to your department heads about that, and then the feedback will go back to the administrator, and then they'll come back to us in August. I'm assuming for approval of this document. Yep.
to.
Yep. Supervisor Seat, go ahead.
Oh, I didn't have a question. Sorry.
I just wanted to bring it to your attention.
Yep. Did you have a question, Ms. Locke? Yep.
Some committees meet for everyone, so August might be.
Oh.
And so maybe September or something.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So we might not expect this back at this committee. Sounds like, is that right, Administrator Langrecht? That
If there's certainly some committees that don't meet monthly,
okay.
where we draw the line, because there's some that I think only get together maybe quarterly and beyond.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
We'll make sure that.
Nothing that says that a committee cannot, if they've been meeting 3 other months, cannot meet monthly. And if there's a lot of work to do, especially the organization, developing an administrative plan. Nothing wrong with maybe setting.
Okay, well, let's not get too distracted with the timeline. Let's just we'll expect this to come back at a future date. Supervisor Locke?
Well, so our meeting is next week, early next week. Are you gonna get it to the departments before so we can discuss it at that meeting? Okay.
All right, so moving on to agenda item number 8, proposed changes to committee structure regarding supervision. So Administrator Langrecht.
Document that's found also online and in the folder, proposed changes to committee structure regarding supervision. Recommend a motion to present resolution to the county board to make changes to committee structure resolution. Last amended October 29th, 2019 through resolution number 19128. Also recommend a referral to the Finance and Personnel Committee to review resolution number 1993 to consider removal of any remaining conflicts between resolution 19128, that's referenced up there, and also in resolution 1993. These have to do with the resolutions regarding rules of the committee and the duties and responsibilities of the administrator. Background per Corporation Counsel's recommendation and the Rules and Resolutions Committee on April 3rd, 2020, conflicts between the administrator's job description and other resolutions are being reviewed. The committee structure document, last amended again on October 29th of 2019, through the same resolution, has several conflicts with resolution 1993, which is the administrator's job duties regarding supervision of departments. The first attachment, the committee structure, removes one instance of a point under the Agricultural and Extension Education Committee and 9 instances of the word supervisor to each of these: Child Support Committee, Fair and Recycling Committee, Joint Ambulance Committee, Land Conservation Committee, Parks Commission County, Property, Building and Grounds Committee, UW Platteville Richland Committee, Veteran Service Commission, Zoning and Land Information Committee. Each instant has been replaced with the phrase "provide oversight and advice regarding" in exchange for supervising, and the one with the point. This matches the language under the related agenda item authority of management. We discussed on section 8, role of members in committees, boards, and commissions, supervision of staff in these and other departments is planned to shift from committees, boards, and commissions to the administrator, as noted in statute 5918, resolution 1993. Is again the position description. Supervise has not been removed from the committee's structure document where department heads are elected by Richland County voters, i.e. clerk, clerk of circuit court, coroner, district attorney, register of deeds, sheriff, supervisor, treasurer. Conflict remains between state statute 5918 and resolution 1993, the administrator's job duties, where a clear declaration has been between election and non-elected department heads. For this reason, it is recommended that the committee refer to the Finance and Personnel Committee for review of Resolution 1993 in light of the above recommended changes to Resolution 19128, the committee structure one again. Essentially, flipping back then into the support documents, you'll see the committee layouts defined through committee structure. As stated, the instances for child support, fair and recycling, joint ambulance, land conservation, parks commission, property building grounds committee, UW Plateau Richland committee, veteran service commission, zoning land information committee are struck from appoint and supervise to provide oversight and advice on.
All right, very long document here. Well, people a chance to take a look at, just to remember that. Hopefully you got a chance to look at this beforehand too, but take questions or comments from committee members about these proposed changes. Supervisor Lott.
So my understanding when we hired a funding minister that we wanted to have oversight, supervisory oversight of all our department heads. And by statute, that's true. So I'm confused why we're just saying provide oversight and advice instead of just saying.
That's the rule.
Hold on just a second. Can you finish your question, please, Supervisor Lott?
I'm just wondering why we're stating it as provide oversight and advice on hiring. Instead of saying hiring supervisor.
Okay, so I'm gonna take a shot at answering this one and this top one because that was the unusual one, and I'm on that committee, the Ag and Extension Committee. So that was the only one here that I noticed said appoint. There are no other departments under this committee structure document. I was looking through this where committees are explicitly told that they are, at least within this document, there might be other documents that say this, but where committees are tasked with hiring staff, or in this case, it was appointing professionally qualified persons to the UW Extension program. Now, this one's a little unique because we don't have a department head for UW Extension, I noticed, whereas the other ones we do have department heads. So if you scroll down, and look at those other ones, which are further down, these were all supervised, and so that was kind of an outlier. I noticed in there.
So what we're doing here is we'll be giving him the authority to supervise and hiring somebody. We're changing our committee structure.
Yes, the committees defined there use the word supervise. For example, with child support, supervise the child support agent. Implementation of it would change it to provide oversight and advice.
So the committee is providing the advice, and we're actually transferring the supervisory authority to you. Is that correct?
That is the intent.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay,
That's what I think we want to do. So I was just a little confused.
Okay, other committee members?
That's much more logical.
Just make sure to speak up too, because we got the speaker right here sitting next to me, Supervisor Seat. So just so Carrie can hear you.
You need to have a structure where one vision is one board. You can't have 6 blocks, 7 blocks. There, and that is a problem with management. Or you spread it on. Not a good system.
Okay, any other committee members? So,
Quick clarification.
so if this committee adopts this motion, what's the Administrator Landgraf? Can you explain the intent of referring it to Finance and Personnel?
Finance and personnel aspect of it would include the change to the administrator's position description.
Mr. Chair, can you hear me?
Can you say that again, Supervisor Severson?
I've been trying, but you asked for questions. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. The sound quality is not real good, and Administrator Langrek was just answering a question. Would you mind holding on just a second, and then I'll come to you?
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Very quickly, it's defined in the Richland County handbook that any types of changes to position descriptions go through personnel and finance.
Okay, Supervisor Severson? Go ahead. Terry, I think you're going to have to probably either hang up your phone or your video, one or the other, because I think since you have both of them on, we're getting a really bad echo here.
Because I tried reaching you on my phone and you're not answering with that, so I have to go to my iPad in order for you to hear me.
Oh, okay.
Maybe you could just turn the volume down?
Maybe turn the volume down.
On that owl thing.
We're thinking. Oh, on this thing.
I don't know.
Can you turn the volume down on this speaker here? Sorry, Carrie. We're just trying to get this worked out so we can hear what you have to say.
Well, for some reason, my phone's not allowing me to talk on there, so I have to talk to my iPad.
I think you can go ahead. We'll give it a try here.
Okay. So you talked on, the administrator wrote for the Parks Commission. We get down to that, it says to, let me find it here. Parks Commission to supervise but provide oversight and advice regarding activities of the county parks. In Chapter 27 of the Wisconsin State Statutes, it also states that the administrator shall appoint a general manager. Will our administrator be appointing a general manager to provide or supervise on that oversight, or is he going to be providing that oversight for the parks? And specifically in Chapter 2705, it states that shall have charge and supervision of all county parks and all lands acquired by the county for park and recreation purposes. So that would be 2705.
Okay, so Supervisor Severson, I'm going to repeat what I think you said just because the volume's a little off here, but I think what you said was something about statute 2705 on county parks says that the administrator will supervise the parks or appoint a manager to supervise the parks. And you're wondering if he will be supervising the parks or if he will be appointing a manager to supervise the parks. Did I hear all that?
Correct. Is he going to, are we as a county going to hire a general manager for our park system? Or is he going to do that without having the commission with their new duties now of not just providing oversight?
Okay, so and I think this has to do something too with the fact that a lot of the committee members of the Parks Committee, if not all of them, they actually go out and do a lot of the work similar to our Fair and Recycling Committee, where those committee members go to the fairgrounds and they do a lot of the work. So I think that's why this question was coming up. So I'm going to hand it off to Administrator Langrek to give you his thoughts.
Yeah, I would see it's going to have to be a thing as well as to develop the courses of actions on what they both look like. Going forward, I'd say we're kind of in a status quo, whether or not that is an impeding immediate conflict of what we're doing. I don't know if there's how gray it is. I'd have to default to Corporation Council, but again, the idea is to conjunction with the other document, which is still exploratory, is to sort out how much of it can be redistributed to administration and employees versus actually handled and lifted by elected officials. If this language is going to change that, and it's going to impact and lead to financial impacts that we can't cover or missed expectations to perform the services, then the appropriateness of having it for this committee and commission, I guess I would defer to council or to the board chair to further understand it, but the idea wasn't to cause conflict of what's happening in.
Hold on, let's let Supervisor Severson go ahead.
I was just wondering, because right now we don't have a department head for the Parks Commission. It's just been given to the county conservationists to do all of our secretarial work. So, with all the lack of a department head to supervise that, I guess, unless we want our county conservationists doing county conservationist work and Parks Commission work.
Can you say that last part again?
I said, unless you want to continue with having our county conservationists be kind of the general manager for the county parks, I don't know.
I have the background.
Do you have any follow-up thoughts to that, Administrator Langrup?
Yeah, for this one, no, I think this is correct. I think Commissioner Carey or Supervisor Carey Stevenson brings a good point that if we do change this one to provide oversight and advice regarding, then the supervisory would fall to myself to assume those types of duties. And I guess that's in line with the other aspect of the position description that says that the administrator is to be caretaker of property, grounds, and buildings not otherwise delegated to somebody. How much capacity that I'm going to be able to have to do the lifting on behalf of the committee and the commissions in the park, though, is kind of what leads to the unknown that I don't know. So it's, again, I'm trying to balance the expectations of the board and bringing forward an administrator with the realities of how you're configured to make things work.
Make sure he doesn't have anything else here. Did you have anything else, Supervisor Severson?
No, this was just brought up for discussion because I know we're going to be talking about it in April, or not April, excuse me, August. So just something that we can work through within the next month or so to get hashed out.
Okay, Supervisor Seaton.
In response to Mr. Stevenson, Supervisor Stevenson, I think Minister Language makes an excellent point. It would be a possibility of financial impact, but the background is this. I served on that committee for 6 years. When we had budget problems, we moved was the manager of the parks for us, staff person, the Ag Extension Building.
Colstead.
Mr. Colstead. Mr. Colstead managed the parks for us, and the Parks Committee met with him. It was a separate committee. Mr. Colstead, in anticipation of retirement, chose no longer to manage the parks for us. All the space and the files and everything was transferred to the Land Conservation Committee. Chairman of the Parks Commission, Bellman, at that time, chose not to hire a staff person. The Land Conservation Committee, Kathy Cooper, agreed to take on the responsibility of managing the problems with the parks in consultation with and in cooperation with the members. So the members were asked to take various segments of the park to give them oversight and repair, maintenance. Not necessarily physically themselves, but to provide the oversight for them and take on some of that management responsibility. as an example, the person responsible for Rockbridge, made sure that, the picnic tables were repaired. The person who was responsible for the, weapons, site up here was one of the,
Shooting range.
shooting range, ordered new planks for the backboard for shooting. So that's how that happened. And so consequently, we have not have had a separate hired manager. It's been integrated with the Land Conservation Commission, and they have been willing to take it on. It would be a financial impact if we had to hire a parks manager. We have a parks manager now, integrated with the job of the Land Conservation Manager.
Just want to make sure, like, are you finished, Supervisor Sheep?
I'm done.
Okay. I'll get to you just a second on council, but, so, you know, I mean, it's pretty obvious that we do have two committees at the county who do a lot of volunteer work. The committee members themselves, and some of those are county board supervisors, and then some of those are people from the community who also help, sometimes also city council members. So, you know, this language change from supervise to oversight and advice, you know, I'm not quite sure exactly in this context of volunteers on committees what those words mean. I think for the purposes of what we're doing today, we're talking about, you know, who oversees the day-to-day operations of different departments. Is it the committee or is it the administrator? That's what we're trying to figure out. Now, of course, the committees or commissions or boards, they're still going to provide a lot of the advice about what should be done and why it should be done. But as far as how to carry it out, you know, that's what we've been shifting more over to the administrator and to staff at the county. It's pretty obvious that within these two departments, parks and the fair, that we don't have the staff hired. We depend on volunteers who typically are the committee members. So it's just kind of a unique situation we're in, and I don't think we're going to solve that immediately. So those are just my thoughts on this conversation that I think is a good one that Supervisor Severson's bringing up. So, Corporation Counsel.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and appreciate Supervisor Severson raising section 2705 of the statutes, and I would be willing to study that and give some advice on that to the council. I just, Chairman, Supervisor Chief made a comment about why these folks are coming on the lines of volunteers, and in terms of county board supervisors doing work at county fair time, they can only be volunteers because it would be illegal. It's illegal for them to be paying compensation. County board supervisor cannot be an employee of the county, so they get their compensation by having a formal meeting each day and getting paid for diem and mileage, but they cannot be paid otherwise for their volunteer work during the county fair.
Okay, so are there any other comments from committee members on this item, proposed changes to the committee structure document regarding supervision? No other? Okay. So and Ms. Knock, did you want to go ahead? Yep, go ahead.
I truly believe that the committees that should be affected by this language should have a chance to decide. They should have a chance to have what their feeling is versus the language. The oversight is what we were so excited about having a county administrator. I want budget advice and somebody that I can go to because I already have that supervisor. I really need the advice part. And I can tell you that it is on our agenda item. On my department agenda, specifically
So the one thing that I would refer folks to in regards to what Ms. Knock is bringing up. So we do have an attachment here that's State Statute 59.18 on the administrator, and that's at the very end of this document. And I've definitely spent some time reading through this quite a bit lately. And under 59.18, section 2, in parentheses, under duties and powers, and then under section 2B, there is a section here about appointing and supervising department heads. Now it gets, if you read this, you can start to read it different ways, and it gets pretty complicated. It's not the way I would have written a sentence here, but I think that's what we're going to be discussing at finance in more detail next Tuesday. Is what exactly does this statute mean, especially in relation to, there are a few different statutes that I think a lot of people have brought to our attention. So one of them is the Veteran Service Officer statute, another is Corporation Counsel, another is the Highway Commissioner. And then of course, new ones I've learned about in the past week are Pine Valley, that has some specific language in state statute, and then also what Supervisor Severson brought up with the Parks Committee. So we are going to be taking a look in more detail at those at our Finance Committee meeting. And the reason we're going to be doing that is because there we're tasked with looking at job descriptions and what the job descriptions say. So the job descriptions, they talk about reporting authority. So with this item here today, it is kind of related to that because we've got this supervision word or supervise word in here. From my perspective, our intent when we hired the administrator was to shift the supervision of department heads who were not elected by the people to the administrator, because those had been going to committees, boards, and commissions, and that was not, that model we discussed at length in our committee to study administration was not working for various reasons. So I just want to explain that we will be going into that in more detail at the Finance Committee. I think that these changes are appropriate because we don't want to pull oversight committees out of the picture totally. You know, we still want them to have that oversight and advice. But as far as the day-to-day, you know, are you going to be, as committee members, filling out job evaluations? You know, are you going to be knowing what folks are doing every day? You know, as far as their day-to-day work goes, how they're going to carry out those things. That is not, that was part of the reason we wanted to shift to this new model. So, okay, so if there's no other discussion, then, oh, yep.
May I make a brief
Yes,
comment?
go ahead, Council.
Thank you. This goes back to agenda item number 7 relating to committees. I would just point out that this committee, as I did in an email, one needs to look also at the rules of the board, because while the rules of the board primarily relate to procedure by the county board, there's also in about half a dozen sections of the rules of the board references to committees. How committees does it. Benefit of the county.
Yes, we've got a lot of work to do on this tonight. Okay, so with that, I would entertain a motion. And the motion would be, I got to get back to the top of my long document here. The motion would be to present a resolution to the county board to make changes to the committee structure resolution last amended through resolution 19-128. And then also recommend a referral to finance and personnel to review resolution number 19-93. Okay, motion by Supervisor Cosgrove.
I'll second.
Second by Supervisor Luck.
I have a question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Question.
Oh, I thought you were calling the question. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Supervisor Severson.
So we're not going to be discussing this any further in August. So this is chapter right now is going to go on to finance and personnel and then on to county board for approval.
So yes, that's correct. The latter part. That's the way. If you voted for this motion, yes, it would go ahead and move it forward to the county board with a referral to finance regarding the job descriptions. Anything else, Supervisor Severson?
So issue with the park was all done, or there was an oversight committee.
Can you repeat that, please? Or it's not. I couldn't.
The issue that I brought up with the parks, is that been resolved, or is that just going to be an oversight committee now?
I guess, okay, so my question, I guess back to you would be, is if the language changed from from supervise to provide oversight and advice, does that prevent the Parks Commission members from doing volunteer work in the county parks?
No.
And I asked the question and Corporation Counsel said no, Supervisor Severson.
Chairman,
Go ahead,
there's no
Counsel.
law relating to county board supervisors or any other citizen volunteering to do work for the county. There's no law regarding that. Perfectly fine for people, supervisors to volunteer to break lawn in the park or whatever they wish to do.
So Supervisor Severson, did you hear Council's answer?
I did, and I understand that we can go there and do work at the park and volunteer our time, but listen, we move a park there with a camping permit, you know, how can we make sure that we follow through with that if we don't have a department head that does that? Put in a well, you know, seek bids to put in a well for water at a park, to do upgrades to a structure without doing work to have those on the agenda.
I couldn't understand.
Yeah, go ahead, Supervisor Luck.
Can't we just continue to have Kathy be the designated, Kathy Cooper be the designated person, and that would take care of the question of the 27.05?
I think we're getting away from the agenda.
Well, I think that the question that Supervisor Severson has got is, should we be comfortable with changing the supervised language under the Parks Commission? So Supervisor Cosgrove wanted to say something? No?
At that point, question of Kathy become a discussion, right? I don't think that's.
Supervisor Severson, not sure if you heard that, but
I didn't know.
Supervisor Cosgrove was saying that at that point, he said he thought it would be Administrator Langrex at his discretion as to what Ms. Cooper's role was with the Parks Committee. Am I restating that right? I think earlier, Administrator Langrex said he had no intentions of changing the current way that things are operating with the Parks Committee and the staff that you do currently have. Like this was this was not meant to change the status quo of how the parks and the fair committees operate with committee members serving as volunteers. Okay, so if there's no other discussion on this, we've got a motion and a second on the floor, so I'm going to go ahead and call for a vote. So all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. So with that, we're at agenda item number 9, adjournments. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Until
Oh, always forget that. Thank you. So we will adjourn until the first Thursday in August. That's August 6th. Thank you, Supervisor Luck, at 1 p.m. And the location, I'm assuming, will have to be, we had a conflict today up in the county boardroom. The zoning committee was meeting. Is that also the first Thursday of every month at 1? Oh, it might have been Board of Adjustment. So we will adjourn to that date, and then we will have the location published in the agenda. Right, so motion by Supervisor Luck. Second by Supervisor Cosgrove. All those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good day, everybody.